leadership is not just about money and more decision making and freedom. There's a lot of really hard things that come with being a leader and running a company and having lots of employees. So mentoring people, being accessible, sharing the experiences you've been through are all so important to help people that they don't have to go through those challenges and keep reinventing the wheel.
Have a seat, ladies. Let me share a little bit of intention for our afternoon. We've assembled this team, and they're going to be sharing from their experience, strength, and hope. So hang on tight. We'll do introductions in just a moment. But first, I'd like to do a survey. Let's see you, dear women. Stand up again. Come on, stand up again. Let's see you. I got to do a little head count. Uno, dos, tres. Hey, there's more. There's more here. Maybe 50 out of 10,000. So that's like half of 1%. All right. Now I want you to shout this out. I'll repeat what I hear. Percentage-wise, number of total employees at your company, what's the percentage of women you employ at your company? Shout it out. 100, I heard. All right, 1%, okay. What else we got? 10%? How about with technicians? Percentage of technicians who are women? Ooh, 3. 3 like is the winner. 10 is awesome. And I'm not doing any better. 15% of the planet are women. Let's just start from the assumption right now that these stats are terrible. And let's see what we could do to change that by changing our thoughts and our intentions in the conversation. So women are well served to be in this amazing industry for our own sake. And you may be well served to have women in your company as well. And I've learned so much from great people. I mean, this whole weekend or week has been about mentorship, and I'm eager to learn more from the panel today. This panel has assembled to explore expanding the position, power, performance, productivity, and prosperity of women in this fine industry. These women are going to share, and they're my new BFFs and my new mentors. It's my favorite part of today. Let's talk about mentorship a little bit. Once upon a time, I met Frank Blau, and he taught me to charge more than it cost, and it changed my life. Al Levy taught me to relentlessly pursue the implementation of systems. And he also taught me on a daily basis what it looks like to live a life of integrity. My partner, Jim Crinitti, has taught me the power of unwavering optimism. Tommy Mello taught me speed, make mistakes faster. So good. Jim Abrams taught me to make money with the sales I have today. Life-changing. And Howard Partridge taught me to ask more and better questions and listen. So let me ask you, just as we wrap up today, what have you learned over the last few years? What have you learned over the last few days? What hit you today? What hit you yesterday? Shout it out. Let's hear it. Pardon? Implement fast. Speed. Love it. What else? Come on. Focus rocks on one thing, 2 things, not 100 things. What else? Culture. To magnetize, right stuff people to come work for you, give it their all. Love it. One more. Sell your company. Love it. Love it, love it. All right, well, most of my mentors have been men. Most of my mentors have been men, and inevitable, I guess, as this industry is really just having its first taste of diversity, a few women have made powerful impressions on me. Nell Merlino taught me I can have it all if I don't do it all. Mary Jean Anderson showed me what a functional and prosperous business looks like and how to be a boss. Martha McSally taught me that sometimes I am a jackass in the rain, and if I hang on long enough, the weather will change. It always does. And long ago, I met a woman named Katharine Graham through the pages of her autobiography. She was the publisher of the Washington Post. If you're old like me, you might remember Katharine Graham. And she ran the Pentagon Papers and broke the Watergate story, two of the biggest news events in our history. Now, most of her colleagues wanted to squash those stories, told her she had no right to tell them. In fact, the US government threatened her, don't do it. And she did it. She's one of my mentors, one of my heroes. Reading her in 2001, I remember thinking, as I always do when someone I love dies, what if they're right here with me now? What if I could be with them right this second and talk to them? What if that's what's happening right now? And I don't know if this is true, and I reserve the right to be wrong, because my mentor, Keith Mercurio, has taught me the cost of being right. So, andiamo. Let's go. I wanted to share a little bit about mentorship and set the stage for the conversation that we're about to have with these amazing women. But let's go. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to my co-panelists today, and let's get started. Angie, let's hear about you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Ellen. My name's Angie Snow. I reside in Salem, Utah. Have a company there, Western Heating, Air, and Plumbing. Ran that with my husband for the last 16 years. And now I'm an industry advisor at ServiceTitan, where I love to take what I've learned in my experience, help ServiceTitan, and help contractors.
Woohoo! Let's give it up for Angie! Alicia, you're up.
All right, my name is Alicia Green. I live in Greensboro, North Carolina. Own and operate Go Green Plumbing, Heating, and Air with my husband, Pete Green. We started in our basement in 2015. Just super honored to even be sitting on this stage with all of the great speakers that have been up here throughout this entire event. And like Ellen said, who, by the way, is a great mentor, even though I haven't chatted with her, personally before this event. Have been following her for many years and read letters that you wrote to Frank Blau many years ago. I'm just very honored to be up here for the opportunity, and grateful for this entire panel.
Woohoo! Let's hear from you, Kelly. Give it up.
I'm Kelly Maceras, and I'm with Dilling HVAC. We are located in PA. I'm the general manager there, and just honored to be on this panel with the women here, and just love leading my team and helping it grow. So,
thank you, Kelly. Give it up.
to work, I think, in every single position in an HVAC company, from the call center to technician, service technician, sales, and leadership. My family has our family-run businesses across the state of California, and I was fortunate enough to be part of a project in Las Vegas, which is where I live now, a company that we built and then exited that they just talked about on the last panel. It was a really exciting project there, and now I'm partnering with several companies to help train and develop women in our industry for higher caliber skills to be able to make greater contributions to a company's bottom line so you guys can pay them more.
Woohoo! All right, so here are the ground rules for today. I want you to share what you know. This is your opportunity to, again, share from your experience, strength, and hope. What matters most to you? I want to hear from you. We all do. Play off of each other. If you've got a difference of opinion, let's see that. Let's be as engaging as we can be. And then I'll time you out as needed. So if I time you out, you just have to deal. I'm in charge. I'm the boss girl today. So let's start with this. And Catherine, I'm going to kick it off to you. Why hire women? Are we different from men? Do we want to leverage or ignore these differences?
All right. You can time me out whenever you're ready.
I will.
I could go
I'm
on
at the ready.
forever.
I know you have a lot to say on this
Yeah,
topic.
I have a great reason why everyone should hire women or promote the women that they have within. You should write this down because it positively affects your bottom line. I don't expect any business owner to hire anyone for any other reason. It's not about how many men do you have and how many women and what is the percentage and why. You should hire the right man for the right job, even if that man is a woman, right? And a lot of times we think that, our differences disqualify a woman. Differences don't equal inferior or superior, they just equal differences. And a lot of you probably have companies in your leadership teams, if you look around and they're all male, you might be lacking some of the skill sets that women have that are highly valuable. We're great communicators, we're great collaborators, we're organized, right? Those things are paired with our characteristics of compassion and empathy, we become leaders. So my position at one of the companies in Las Vegas that I worked, it was just strictly to increase revenue. They called me the service manager at the time, but they said, your job is to drive revenue. A lot of you don't have that position, a revenue manager, a revenue driver. It's a great position for a female. I went to another company in Southern California, Airworks, Stephanie Allen, she's out there somewhere. And I took a CSR lead. I said, that's the one. And I picked her up. She was a driver. She had all the characteristics that we need to drive revenue. She understands the cross department between CSR, booking the board, selling the call, converting the call, leading the technicians in a way that they respond to influence and persuade their behavior to convert on those calls, and then adequately staff the install department. And she's doing incredible. And that's something that I did. So are we timing out here? Because it affects the bottom line.
There's a lot of questions that came from that. So let's talk about like that there is perhaps a stigma that we don't have the expertise or the history in a lot of the areas that are required to be successful in the business. But we were talking before about what areas of expertise could a woman bring that perhaps is unique to womanhood, or at least maybe a woman would be the right man for the job, which I like that.
Well, when I think back to the conversation we heard earlier, right, where we heard from Dan, he said 80% of our consumers are what? Women. And so when I entered my company with my husband with zero HVAC experience, I entered thinking, how am I going to contribute to this company? And my husband's like, well, you're our customer, so you know what our customer wants. And that set me up to help create a great customer experience, starting with our call center. How do I want to be spoken to on the phone if I'm a consumer, if I'm scheduling service, which helped me in my company design an amazing customer service training for my team. And then I also took on the role of marketing because I knew what I liked to see as a woman. I knew where my channels were. I knew what I was looking for. And so I was able to create campaigns that appealed to women. And I think that's where our strength as women comes in, is we really can relate to the consumer.
I agree. Like, you could give me a YouTube video and like directions and all the parts and $1,000, and I'd still call somebody to change the flapper in my toilet. Like, I'm never gonna do it, right? And so it does give us a really great perspective as to what we can do to support our customers out there in the field. I see you're ready to share, Alicia. No, I was looking at you.
Oh, no. I was just going to add to that is there's not a single mentor here male mentor here that I've spoken to throughout this entire last 3 days, Chad, Aaron, Tommy, every single one of them that I look up to has not only gone out of their way to mention the woman or women on their team that are making the difference, but they are all about connecting us and other women to those women. They know how important a driven woman on their team is. So I think that, it's a great thing today that we see so many men. I mean, there's a big shift right now. Men are realizing more and more, and you see, when me and my husband sat in these rooms 8 years ago, there was a fraction of the amount of women sitting in the rooms than there are right now. And I think that that's just a super awesome thing, because we do affect the bottom line. We are able to market to women in a different way than men can. We are able to influence our teams in a different way than the men can, right? We're the yin, the yang. Our husbands kind of bring one side, and I think it's kind of cliche to say, oh, because we're women, we're the nurturing ones. Sometimes I'm the more hard-ass one, right? It's not necessarily just that we're always the so nurturing, and I'm a nurse, critical care nurse by background, so that's supposed to be my super power, but sometimes it really does take that balance, and I think it's just awesome that there's so many women in the audience right now. There was even more 6 hours ago, but it's super awesome to see all the people that are here.
Well, let me play on that a little bit.
Women.
Yeah, love that. Great answer. And let me play on that a little bit. I definitely see so many more women in executive positions and positions, at director level, at VP level. Not a lot of women technicians. So there's a couple of things to unpack here. One is, are our companies really friendly to women technicians? Is something happening? Are people saying things? Is the culture not welcoming to women technicians? I mean, we have, I think, 2 out of 170 technicians who are women right now. That's abysmal. So in these great jobs, I think nurses would make great service technicians, right? Pumps, pipes, waste, they know what's going on. So what else could we do? Or is there some suggestions that you could make, particularly to service managers who are men? How do we create a culture where women may want to come into those high-paying jobs as technicians? Any ideas? What do you think, Kelly?
I think just leading the way, someone like Catherine, who has her work boots on and is out there. I know Gettle has a training program for women, and just they market advertising on it. We personally don't have any women technicians, but I just see more and more of it, and just using your ads and marketing it, and maybe reaching out through trade schools and things like that have a special program for them. And I think Catherine has something up and coming that will help with that.
Well, yeah, Catherine, you have been service manager. You brought your work boots. You're wearing your work boots today. 2 things then. How, let's expand on this. How do we encourage women to come into the trade as technicians? And do you think that there is a fear that as a service manager, as a team leader, as a woman, you would maybe not be accepted by all male teams?
Oh, it's not a fear, that's a reality. But, ooh, that got me emotional, geez. Yeah, no, it's not very accepting because it's not happening yet. And I don't think that it's particularly our company culture, even our industry culture, that has led to the reason why there aren't a lot of female service technicians. It's quick to point out from a lot of females that the job isn't super desirable, right? A lot of women don't want to be crawling around in attics. However, right now I'm onboarding a really great sales professional, and I'm teaching her HVAC. And at first, her initial response, I think, represents what we get from a lot of women, was, oh my gosh, like, how am I gonna learn that? Like, I know sales, but that stuff's really hard, right? I was like, sister, when they say they're gonna attach their gauges and measure the pressures, it just means they're gonna like unscrew two like gold things. They're gonna screw on a hose. They're gonna turn this on. That's all it is. Like you can do it. You can do it. And I know some of the things that we have to do aren't very desirable, but a lot of women that maybe don't have college educations and they assume their only options for career, hospitality or cosmetology, don't know that that's actually an option. The education isn't there. We need to spread the word. What does this include? How do you acquire these skills? You can go to trade school. I didn't know how to do HVAC before I went to a trade school and completed HVAC school and did the ride-alongs and installed air conditioners, and then there were skills that I knew. And there are many, many women that are capable of doing that. We just need to continue, I think, educating them that it's a possibility, exposing the women that are doing it, offering it to the women in your community, and helping educate them that this is something that you can do if you're willing to work hard.
I love that. And let's talk about education. Let's talk about mentorship. Before we do, though, the gross factor, I'll have, we do drain cleaning, and I will have our technicians say, well, it's really gross to pull out, what we pull out of the drain. But being a mom is gross. Being a mom is super gross. Being a nurse is really gross. And it's still attached to the person, which is super gross. So, I think that like some of those stereotypes, but I'm interested too, let's talk about mentorship, because I know you said education. I know when I was younger and making my way, even some of my really great mentors, I put up with stuff. I took it like a duck as I was making my way in a traditionally male world, and I just, put your head down, keep going. But now I find I'm a lot less tolerant of bad behavior, and I'm also a lot more aware of the need to help a sister out, like you were just mentioning. Maybe, Anna, you could share a little bit about mentorship, because there's a lot of women in your world, and who are you mentoring? How are you doing that? Maybe some advice for helping a sister along the way.
Well, education is obviously a really important part of growth and learning. And from the role that I have in leadership, the most important part for me is developing leaders within my organization before they're leaders. So we do different programs within our company. We've got one called RYNO that's a cross-collaboration training throughout the organization every month. I do a Like a Boss training, which is teaching leadership skills to people who aren't in leadership to groom and prepare them for those things that will come, because leadership is not just about money and more decision-making and freedom. There's a lot of really hard things that come with being a leader and running a company and having lots of employees. So mentoring people, being accessible, sharing the experiences you've been through are all so important to help people that they don't have to go through those challenges and keep reinventing the wheel.
You know what you just mentioned that's really powerful? You just named what you're doing. Like a Boss is really cool. And that there's this, did you call it RYNO University?
RYNO
U. So to formalize it by giving it a name adds a lot of power to it. Kelly, you and I were talking before about advocating for yourself. So tell us a little bit about it. We can help each other out, but what are some suggestions to women in the room, or maybe, to help us share with other women in the industry? How do you advocate for yourself?
I think as a leader, you have to lead yourself first. And so you need to have self-accountability and find any gaps that you have, whether it's in training, whether it's in a skill set, and take the lead and better yourself and do training to help grow yourself, and that everyone's watching you when you're doing something like that. And going back to leadership in your company, you can be a leader no matter what level you're at. So it doesn't have to be management, as we were talking about. It could be a CSR that's leading another CSR, just someone stepping up, closing the gaps they may have, and just taking self-accountability. Because again, leadership does start with yourself.
I love that. And, picking a skill set and then owning it. Like as a service technician in any of our trades, if you become a master of that craft, you can work anywhere in the world and make great money. To identify that skill set is going to result in some real career choices for you. Another skill set that's really going to lead places is the Center of Excellence at ServiceTitan. Like if you know ServiceTitan, you can literally work anywhere. So maybe talk about some specific coaching and mentoring that you could do as far as the skill sets required to be successful in our industry.
Yeah, when it comes to ServiceTitan, it's a robust program. The best companies are using it because they know it has. So now every single company has the ability to get 1, 2, 3, as many people as you want in your company certified as an administrator so that you can use this. And what this program is doing is helping men and women become very, very good on ServiceTitan, understanding setups, settings, integrations, so that they can be the specialist at their company. And what we're seeing is that when these people, these are very highly sought out people. If you can find someone that knows ServiceTitan, you want to hire them quick so that they can stay on top of it. But now you can grow your own in your company with this program.
And it's a free program.
Free, absolutely
I
free.
think it's a really great idea. So just getting really granular in specific skill sets that are going to help us, move our careers along. Now, I want to shift gears a little bit. I know that I married into the industry. Once upon a time, when I was a kid, we called people. I didn't know anything. I thought when you flushed the toilet, it disappeared. It was like a miracle. And then I found out that it is a miracle. Like keeping good water from bad water, it's a gravity-based system, like it blew my mind. So I married into the industry, and that's where that's how I got here, and I'm so grateful I did. But I don't work with my husband anymore. We didn't do very well together. And I think one of the things, raise your hand on the panel if a family member got you into the industry. Okay, so this is not uncommon, right? This is how we find our way here. I mentioned Mary Jean Anderson, who has a really interesting, had a really interesting construct to her family business. They just hired a general manager to boss them all around because there was going to be too much tension, and that worked really well for them. Alicia, you found your way to the industry this way. Tell us about some of the lessons that you've learned along the way for making a family business successful. Is he there? Is he here? Hey, baby.
No, lessons along the way. Wow. I mean, I think that we have learned so many lessons along the way. We've learned lessons on, I don't think we put an actual operating agreement into place until we were like last year. So, doing things like that from the beginning, defining job roles, because I could tell you so many times, I felt like in the very beginning, and I know he has his stories of how he felt, and both of them are our perceptions, and we're both right. I needed him to do things, and I felt like he wasn't doing them, and he needed me to do things, and then we're both like, don't boss me around. I'm the owner of my own company, right? So learning how to work together, I think it takes a really strong relationship, which I'm so grateful that we have. And that we're able to have the same vision and the same goal. I think you have to be driven, you have to have the same end game there, and then you can pretty much work through anything. But defining who's in charge of what is really important so that you're not constantly stepping on each other's toes. But that's important for any role, whether you're married or not. So I don't even know if it necessarily matters, the marriage portion. I think the biggest part is that you don't want your relationship to become just a business transaction. So, making sure you know when to turn it off and when to just love each other, love your family.
Do you turn it off?
We do now. We know now. We know better now. So I think when you know better, you do better, and that would be my biggest piece of advice. Make sure you know when to turn it off. Enjoy your vacation time. Enjoy your family time. It's easier said than done. especially when there's multiple fires and things like that. But try not to step on each other's toes. Try to support each other. You're not always going to see eye to eye. You're just not.
Can I add here,
so
Ellen?
important. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah,
I was coming to you next. Okay.
Done this a long time. So in our business, we have what's called a 1A and a 1B. And so Chris is the 1A in certain decisions that are typically under growth, sales, revenue, and business development. I'm the 1B in those situations, and I'm the 1A operationally. So everything that happens from process, execution, service offering, all of those things, I'm the 1A and he's the 1B. So we live in this space where if he's the 1A and a decision has to happen and it's his decision, as the 1B, I can voice my opinion, I can give my perspective, but it's his decision and I have to support him, whether I agree with it or I don't agree with it. I support that decision and I help him to achieve whatever goal we're going after, following that decision that he made, and vice versa. When it's my turn to make the decision, he wholeheartedly supports me. If I fail, or if it was the wrong decision and he was right, the rule is you don't get to throw it in each other's face. We work together to figure it out to get over the hump to where we need to be.
That's really important because, give it up. Give it up. Playing on what you said, Alicia, to have that, that vision, that shared vision. The worst businesses I know are family businesses. Mm-hmm. And the best businesses I know are family businesses. When that vision is shared, when everyone is aligned, and that will put systems in place and honor, respect, who's in charge of what as we develop. So, what else on family businesses? Anything like as you've worked with family businesses before? Maybe Kelly, you've got experiences with all kinds of businesses. What other advice would you give to family members? Sometimes husband and wives, there's more dynamic there sometimes.
Again, just like Alicia said, just defining roles and knowing who's taking care of what and just having the same vision and being committed to getting to your goals.
Let me ask this question, and I'd like each of you to answer this. And then I'm not really sure where we were for time, so someone should cut us off as we're getting towards the end of the day. But let's explore this. Oh, is that our timer? Yeah. That big red timer right there that I didn't see? Perfect. Okay. Oh, good. Let me unpack this a little bit, because what I'd like to do is I want you, you teared up a minute ago, and I think there was some emotion tied to that question of being in a position where maybe as a service manager, but what I'd like you to do is maybe relay that into how have you been supported? How have you received support as an example? And I'm going to ask you all the same question, like who came to your aid, helped you along, told you the rules of the game, helped you out along the way, and sometimes that serves as inspiration for others. Let's see where you go.
Okay, well, that again, you could time me out on this because I could go on and on and on from all.
I'll time you out. You know I will, sister.
Positive.
It's all right.
Support and mentors, and I would say I owe most of my success to all of the help and the investment that my mentors have made, who are primarily men, in my training and my development, and the connections that have been made and the opportunities. But I would say even the greatest mentors and our greatest allies for women in the industry, they're not perfect. I think we talked about this. Can I throw my brother under the bus right now?
We would love you to throw Tom Howard under the bus. We love Tom Howard.
Are we cleared for that? My brother, do not get me wrong, is my greatest ally. He has paid for all of my education, created so many opportunities, would do anything for me. But even in the midst of all of the great things that we've done together and working together. And he's very bossy, if you know him, quite bossy. We don't have the same dynamic of those of you who are married. He's my big brother. I'm his little sister. He's quite bossy, and then I just do what I want. And that's pretty much how it works. And we move along with our life. But and all of he's supported. I remember one instance when I was getting ready to go to Armenia. I opened up a full service support center for our family's businesses in California there, and we were going through all the logistics and in the craziness of it. I said, well, what do you want, this, and we were going through, and he goes, can you just answer the phones? I was like, So I called the big boss, that's our mom. I said, can you believe, he said this to me? But the point is that even though he's one of my greatest supporters and we have so many amazing supporters, they're growing through this with us.
So he still saw you in a traditionally held by women role.
Yeah, he sure did in that moment of time. He paid for it. I think he ended up paying for a Q suite, which is like the bedroom suite on the airline for Qatar when you fly to Armenia. And he said, if I just buy this for you, will you be happy? I said, sold.
Okay, so that's good to know where your standards are. I like it.
But I think that our greatest supporters, do your best and don't expect women, the men in your life, the role models, the leaders, the mentors, the ones giving you opportunities, the ones who are supporting you in publicly and privately. Don't expect them to be perfect.
Yeah.
Focus on their strengths, ignore their weaknesses, and take what they can give you and provide kind education to them so that they understand where you're coming from and how they can best support you for sure.
Yes. Alicia.
I would just like to say, my greatest supporters, my husband, all of the great mentors that I've met throughout the trades over the last 8 years, not a single one of them talks to me any differently than they talk to any other man, right? And that to me is just the most important thing. Don't treat me any different. And I think that it is just, again, a great thing because I don't see that as much anymore as we used to, I don't. I see the men in our lives, and there are those occurrences, where sometimes I will even admit myself early on, I'd be like, will you just get in a truck and let me answer the phone and get out of here, just go and get in a truck and go, so we always have those roles defined, right, in our heads, or say those things that we don't necessarily mean in the moments. But I think that overall, I feel extremely supported. I'd love to see more women actually hands-on tools. They could do it. Are we bringing our CSRs up? Are we offering them those apprenticeship positions? They could make 4 times as much money in a truck or in a sales position. Are we giving them those paths? I think we're just as responsible in our businesses as the men in our businesses in bringing everyone in our companies up.
Love it. Love it. How about you, Angie? Someone who mentored you, supported you. What could we learn from that?
Well, it's going to sound repetitive, but my husband was my biggest supporter as well. And yes, he did tell me I was just going to answer the phone when we bought this business, but it turned into a lot more than that. And as I started coming to events to better myself and to learn about the industry, learn about business, I was the only woman in the room a lot of times. And there were moments of doubt, like, do I even belong here? And then it was people like Steve Miles, Ben Stark, Chris Hunter, who would be like, man, you're a rock star. And I'm like, I am? And it's almost a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like, I see all these successful men that I'm aspiring to be like, and it's like, but do I really belong here sometimes? And so think about that with women as well that are working for you or are already on your team, and let them know that they belong here. And not only that, they can thrive here and become rock stars in your industry. Like, there's a battle that I think goes on. I know men have it too, but I think women suffer with this imposter syndrome even more. And so I let them know they belong and that you want them there.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this with Martha McSally, and she described imposter syndrome as fear, and we're all dealing with that, and that's what can collapse us. So really well said. I remember hearing some really practical tips, like if you get invited to the meeting, don't ask why, or should I be, just go to the meeting, get there early, and sit at the table. Don't sit at the chair outside the table, sit at the table. Adjust your seat if the seat's too big so that you fit at the table. Like, some of these things really made a difference for me. I go to the boardroom, I get there early, and I'm gonna have a seat at the table. So like those kind of suggestions, really practical ones, made all the difference. Gail Evans wrote a book, I can't remember. Play like a man, win like a woman. Here was the idea. Know the rules and then choose to break them. What are the norms that, that in living in a man's world, even just like the chairs at the boardroom, know the rules and then make your decision as to whether or not you want to be the disruptor. How about you, Kelly? How has mentorship shaped you, and what would you like to share?
All of my mentors in the industry have been males, but what I think we need to focus on is not trying to define ourselves as women or separate ourselves as women, and just embrace it and know that we're all out here trying to achieve the same thing, which is growing million-dollar companies, building great teams, and just embrace it and help our communities and the industry.
Love it. How about you, Anna?
So my experience has been different. I have a different experience on the mentor side. I've hired a few coaches and mentors, and they've all been junk for me. So that's like been
They've
my
all been
experience.
junk?
Like it,
Junk, like,
it just I didn't get anything out of it, and I felt like they didn't learn my business, and I didn't grow from it. Which is why it drives me so much to not be that when people come to me for mentorship. And it's why mentorship is so important within my own organization. Is I've had the bad side of mentorship, and I've had people who want to do it, say they're going to do it, are there to help, and then they're really not there. So for me, my experience has been like I am the mentor to people that I didn't get or that I don't get. And I've just really fallen on my face a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes, and falling on my face, I learn from them. And I use my mistakes to help mentor the people that I can support and help.
What is it, like what would junk mentorship, how do you know when to cut ties? That this person is not really supporting me. I'm going to have to look elsewhere.
I mean, from my perspective, if they're the mentor and they don't have any perspective, if I'm constantly selling them or explaining them on what's happening in my business, they don't remember the last conversation, they don't remember the last meeting. It's just in and out, and it's unprepared, unthoughtful. I just really try to go into mentorship sessions. I require the person I'm mentoring to come with the topic and with the agenda that they need and that they need support from, but it is an active, and I've got a role in that. And I just feel like I've had situations where nobody comes prepared for their job in the mentoring role. And if I'm going to mentor myself, I can mentor myself. Like I can read, and there's a lot of books out there, and I can process information, and I don't need to spend one-on-one time with somebody if the only thing I'm going to learn from it is what I say.
I love that. So there's, mentors are great because when you find someone who knows something about something, as you mentioned, Catherine, everybody's human and flawed. But people who are smarter, richer, bigger than me in some area of life, I'm going to seek them out and see what we can do. And what I've also found with mentorship anymore, let me know if this resonates with you. If someone asks me for help, they're going to have to jump through a hoop to get it. Who knows what I mean with this? Like, I'm going to need some kind of read this book, watch this podcast, show up here, do this, you find me, to really like make sure that this is not just me pouring into them with no kind of back and forth, because I want to get out of this relationship something not for my sake but for theirs, to be able to stand up and ask and deliver. Any last thoughts? Who has something in them that they wish they had shared and I haven't yet given you a chance to? Final thoughts for our good audience today who stayed with us to learn from the brightest and the best.
I'll say I think it is just as difficult to get an 18-year-old male to want to go through a crawl space or in a 140-degree attic as it is to get a woman to do the same job. So are we approaching them the same way? Are we trying to recruit them the same way? I think they're both 18-year-old kids, looking for a future. So
Well,
it's hard to get an 18-year-old to work no matter what.
Well, as we kick off, one of the things that we had talked about prior to this event is that diversity in the workplace of all stripes. Yes, we want to see women in positions of power and opportunity, and let's look beyond the norm at every level of the organizations. And that's a good note to wrap on. So please give me a warm round of applause for our amazing mentors and my new BFFs.